We ready?
Testing. Take my cell phone.
Here we go. Hit it, big guy.
Welcome to the Vegas Tourist Podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sazzy.
I'm Dennis Griffin, author of Policing Las Vegas, The Battle for Las Vegas, The Law versus the Mob, and co-author of the new book, Cullotta.
Hello, I'm Dennis Arnoldy.
And I'm Frank Cullotta, the book.
The book. This is the Vegas Tourist Podcast. Sazzy, how do they get a hold of us?
They can email us at the Vegas Tourist. I don't remember.
TheVegasTourist@gmail.com.
Yes, that's it. Do you want me to read the phone number?
Yeah, go ahead.
702-866-9736.
Cool.
Yeah.
And if you want, you visit the website at www.thevegastourist.com.
See, it's not as easy as it looks, is it?
This is a very special podcast.
We brought some friends.
Get out of here.
All right.
I want to talk with Denny.
All right.
Denny, have a seat. Denny Griffin.
Yes, sir.
You're still one of our most popular downloaded conversations so far. Okay.
Beautiful. Like to hear that.
You first wrote Policing Las Vegas.
Yes.
Okay. And that was basically the history of the Vegas Police Department.
Right. The old Las Vegas PD, the Clark County Sheriff, and after they merged to form Metro.
And then they asked you to write one about the Splott era, or was...
That was my idea. I became intrigued. I put a short section in Policing Las Vegas called The Mob's Man, and it was about Tony Splott. And that got me interested in Tony and the era. So
Okay.
I followed that book up with Battle for Las Vegas.
Now, the Splott era is basically chronicled in the movie Casino with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci.
Right.
Okay. Now, to do that, you needed the help of...
I needed sources. I
sources.
needed fresh information that wasn't available previously to the general public.
Okay.
And it happened, the timing was perfect in that a lot of the former lawmen, or the lawmen who had been involved in the investigations, had since retired.
Right.
And they were in a much better position to talk and to tell some of their experiences than they would have been had they still been on the job.
Okay.
So it was very fortunate.
Okay. Now, you wanted the help of Frank, right? Or...
What happened was the Battle for Las Vegas, I felt I should have, in addition to the many police, law enforcement sources I had developed for the book, I felt I would like to hear from the other side,
Okay.
from the so-called bad guy side. And it was very difficult to find someone who was still alive
Right.
and locatable.
Okay.
And then if you could locate them, would they talk to you?
Right.
It happened that I became aware that Dennis had kept in touch with Frank Cullotta over the years.
Okay.
And I said, geez, what better source if to verify information or to get opinions from than
Right.
Frank? So I asked Dennis, I said, sometime when you're talking to Mr. Cullotta, I said, would you see if he'd be willing to talk to me?
Right.
And eventually, I don't know, it was a few weeks later, Dennis called me and he said, can you stop at my office? He said, I want to be on the phone with Frank. And he said, you could ask him a couple of questions. So that's how I first became acquainted with Frank.
Okay. Dennis,
Yes.
during your time with Cullotta, with Frank in the Witness Protection Program, were you approached a lot of times by guys like Denny?
Yes, it was. Ever since Frank became a government witness, and people have learned that I was the case agent in the matter, I've been contacted by numerous people on a continuous basis. Law enforcement people, news people, magazine writers, television shows, you name it. And it's slowed down some recently, but every year I'd get 3 or 4 even after 20 years.
Right. Why did his stand out more than... or?
I didn't do anything more for him than I would have done for anybody else.
Okay.
I always introduce him. It doesn't matter who calls me. It's not up to me. I just put them through to Frank or
You're just a
arrange with
middle
Frank.
person.
I'm just a middle person. I want to add very unpaid middle person. And making money for my friends. But anyway, another reason Denny did express an interest in Denny seemed to be wanting to write from a historical nature, and I believe it is history for Las Vegas, and it needs to be recorded accurately. There's so much crap on the internet You can't believe any of it. So this book, that's why this book is good as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Now, that developed into all three of you being friends over the years.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Dennis and I were friends before I met Griffin.
Okay.
And he notified me and asked me if I would like to speak with Griffin. And I thought about it, and I said, well, let me think about it, and I told him. And because I had a lot of people approach me for different books, and then it all fell through, and I sort of get tired of even bothering with it. Then I told Arnoldy, yeah, get a hold of this Griffin guy, I'll talk with him. I had to give him, so he needed some help to do that book. I think it was Battle. So I gave him that little bit of help there. I thought it was a little bit of help. He liked it. Glad you appreciate it.
I did. Believe me, I did.
Okay, then it led to you, once Battle was out, then you, Frank, wanted somebody to actually write your story.
Well, he approached me with it. Griffin approached me with it, and I says, yeah, I have a lot of the work done on it, and you'll need to put it together. I'm not a writer. So
Neither were you in the beginning, Denny?
No, I'm finally starting to get enough experience. I'm getting fairly good at it. Trial and error.
Okay. Anyway,
so we worked together. We did it mostly by phone and some transcripts that he had, and he'd mail me stuff or I'd mail him stuff back and forth, and eventually we got it together.
okay, cool. Does your wife now like your new friends, or?
Yes, if it's okay, I'll kind of start from the beginning.
Go ahead. We love stories.
Okay, my wife was not particularly enthused about me doing the mob stuff.
Right.
She was concerned that people would be upset with me, and
Well,
so
that's
on.
because you haven't finished the fiction books she wants you to finish.
That's true too. I'm under pressure. I'm under pressure there. So when I told her, I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm meeting with Frank Cullotta." I says, "and we're going to talk about maybe doing his bio together." And she says, "Frank Cullotta, he's the guy I read about in Battle, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Are you sure you want to get tangled up with these people?" She said, "You're going to be in danger." I said, don't worry about it, macho man. So anyway, we talked, and then eventually it came to the point that there was so much stuff to go over, we needed to start seeing each other in person in addition to telephone and mail. And I got a hold of Frank, and I said, if you're going to be in Vegas sometime, I'd like you to stop in. I said, we need to go over a few things, look at some pictures and so on. So Frank said, okay, and we wanted to meet somewhere obviously private where we could talk. So I said, why don't you just come to my place? So I broke the news to my wife. I said, guess who's coming to dinner? No, it wasn't dinner, but I said, guess who's coming to the house? So she says, she didn't say anything, which spoke volumes. Anyway, she was a little nervous, and we got a little Bichon, a 7-pound Bichon. So the day Frank comes in one door, her and the Bichon go out the other. But eventually, Frank started, and we called, and he kibitz with her a little bit on the phone, and Frank's got a nice way with him, and pretty soon, if we didn't hear from Frank for a couple of years, is Frank okay? I haven't heard from him. I'm thinking, well, I'm the one that's supposed to be hearing from him now. So now she welcomes his calls, and she thinks he's just the greatest.
Cool. All right. Great. I do have to say this, Frank. When we interviewed Denny for the Battle for Las Vegas, then he called us up and said, well, I got this idea. How would you like to meet Dennis and Frank? And it was more like, well, is that a question or is that a statement? It's like, duh. However, you have to keep it on the QT. You have to be very, very quiet. You can't tell anyone. Sazzy is over here.
Yeah, I earned my nickname.
Yeah.
Having to keep things quiet for a month just about killed me.
She bit down on her tongue pretty hard there. So I do want to thank you for the honor. Yeah.
All right. Let me give Denny his coffee so he doesn't.
There we go.
Okay. There we go.
Dennis Arnoldy.
Yes.
Am I pronouncing that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What was your previous FBI experience before coming to Vegas?
I worked in El Paso, Texas, and Little Rock, Arkansas.
They brought you in during the house cleaning when the FBI was cleaning their Las Vegas offices.
Oh, no. They weren't cleaning their offices. In about 1977, they brought in about 7 agents weren't cleaning the house, but what they were trying to do is go after, in that case, organized crime and white-collar crime and political corruption in Vegas.
Okay.
3 years later, I was part of a group of another 7 that came in, and we primarily were put on the organized crime squad. And there was so much organized crime squad work here that we all became somewhat specialists. We helped each other out, but my area was Tony Spilotro and the Hole in the Wall gang. Chicago outfit, more street crimes type stuff in Las Vegas. Another agent handled the skimming out of the Stardust, and we had agents handling. Then we had a large organization of New York guys and other organized crime here, not just New York, and other agents were assigned to that. So it was a very, very busy time as far as organized crime.
So you had special folks for the Chicago arm, and then
I didn't. I assisted on the skimming part of it, the part in the movie of Casino,
Right.
Rosenthal and all the money was going out of the place, or Ace Rothstein in the movie, I guess. But that one agent, Lynn Farron, handled a great deal of that, and Agent Gary Magnuson did a lot on the New York guys.
Okay.
And we had Kansas City here, you name it, we had it.
Everyone was represented.
Everyone was represented. Chicago, though, was the heavy hitter in Las Vegas, always has been.
Okay.
And so that's what I was concentrating on.
Were you ever surprised by the things you uncovered, what these gentlemen were doing and how corrupt the city was at the time? What were the things that surprised you as far as knowledge you learned?
Well, a lot
Did anything
there was a
surprise
few things that surprised me, but the activity. These guys were out stealing every night. I mean,
Yeah, we took a couple nights off.
not many though. They were out all the time. That's what amazed. One of the things that amazed me. And another thing that amazed me was the general acceptance of these people in town
Okay.
by
the locals.
Yeah, by the locals.
Okay.
You know,
Interesting.
they were criminals, but a lot of people thought otherwise.
Well, it was their paychecks. Now, the battle for Las Vegas, as Denny and I have talked, is catching fire. Okay. Of the books that you've been a part of or you have read, where would you rate the battle for Las Vegas? That book.
What I liked about the battle, and I'm going to be honest with everybody, I don't read these books.
Okay.
They show me what they're quoting me or whatever, and then I let it go. The nice thing about the Battle of Las Vegas from law enforcement perspective for a change, and I don't think it glamorizes the bad guys at all.
Good. Denny, we've said this many times. You've been very straightforward on that book. And that's what attracted us to it, was how it was written. So.
Yeah, you got to understand, the cops won the thing, not the bad guys. But
Yeah.
you look in the movies, you'd think the bad guys were the end all,
Right.
Sure.
But we won.
Glamour.
So what do you read?
I like to read most anything, history, historical novels. I do like crime fiction, that type of thing. I like P.D. James. I like Cadfael novels from the the 13th century England. I like all that stuff.
Now,
Me. Sorry, wayward
okay,
question.
yeah. No, now, do most agents look for, or do they hope for, to have a case that defines their career? And do you think the Spilotro era defined your career?
Well, I can't answer that first question. I don't know.
Okay.
And when you're an agent, you just get cases assigned to you and you run with them. I never thought about defining my career one way or the other. I've had other large cases. This one just seems to be the one that everybody's still interested in. It has never stopped for 25 years. I mean, like I told you earlier, I keep getting calls. And I mean, I did a piece for an Israeli newspaper about 18 months ago.
Israel.
Yeah, so there you go. You just never know. And I think that's the reason. Whether this is, I never sat down and said this is my career. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't seem mundane to me, but it just seems like another day at the office and working these cases. I mean,
Just what you did.
that's what I did.
Any comments, Frank?
No.
No? Okay.
Ask him what he's doing. He's probably selling newspapers now. I'm only teasing.
Now we turn to Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, how are you?
The reason we're all here, the reason you're all friends. All right, Frank Cullotta, wise guy, mob man. Anything else, or just whole? Okay.
You about covered it.
Okay, cool. The one question that's on everybody's mind, and I was told it was asked at the
Panel discussion.
panel, right? How will The Sopranos end?
I got a funny feeling Tony Soprano's going to roll. They want to keep him alive.
There you go.
That's what I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Then again, who knows?
It's TV.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Do you watch the show?
Once in a while when I'm not busy.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have been pretty busy these last couple weeks.
Yes, we have.
And it's only starting.
Well, that's all right.
Cool. Now I come from a small business background, a small business marketing background, and I'm always attracted to the business guy, the business owner, the business leader who finds what they are good at, they do it very well, and they're very proud of their work. And I got that sense from you, that in a business sense, the mob was a business, it was your job, you were very, very good at it, and you were very, very proud of what you did. Correct?
That's correct.
Where did that come from? Where did that mentality come from?
I don't know. That's the way I always thought. You know, my family, my mother always told me when I was getting in trouble and stuff, she said, you know, if you use your head and put it legitimately, you'll make a lot of money and have less headaches because you're that smart. You know what to do. And I said, I ain't got no education. I can't do these things. She says, I'm telling you, you're doing the wrong thing. And she's right. She was right because I put my mind together and started doing the legitimate thing, and I'm making a lot of money now.
Cool.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Now, your mom and your wife and have always been very supportive of you, right?
Yeah.
They always visited you in prison, and
Well, I had a wife then that I was divorced from, but she had visited me. That was my second wife.
right.
And my mother never missed a visit unless some of my friends wanted to come, and then she'd take a back seat for it, you know.
What a saint. What a
Are you
saint.
enjoying a life on the straight and narrow now?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, it's nice.
Is it as exciting as it was when you were working with the mom?
Oh, no. No. You're not as, everybody likes a lot of fame, you know.
Sure.
They like to be recognized. It makes you feel important. Then you felt important. No, I'm just an average guy, you know, working stiff. Doesn't bother me.
You were never a made man. You were always kind of an independent contractor.
Because I resisted it.
Okay.
Why? Why did you resist?
I didn't want to be controlled that much. I wanted to do my thing. See, when you're controlled by these people, you got to drive what they want you to drive, you know.
Sure.
Socialize where they want you to socialize. I didn't mind the idea of kicking back money. I mean, I seen everybody had to do that. If you didn't, you were going to get killed, you know.
Well, you do that
It's no big deal. It's just
No, you
like
do
you're
it-
paying a traffic fine, you
right.
know.
It's the cost of doing business.
That's it.
Might be a touchy subject, but I
Then
love
why you want to ask?
because
You tell him, Frank. Get him. This could get good.
the Kennedys and politics. I like what you said in the book. You know, the fact that that the mob helped the Kennedys get elected, and then they turned around and they
Screwed them.
right. And we go back to your morals and your ethics. You were very moral and very ethic. To some, it may have been twisted, but you didn't like crooked cops, crooked politicians, in that sense.
Well, I didn't mind crooked politicians because they could do things for you. Crooked cops, they check you out for money and they'll arrest you or shoot you in the head a week later.
Can you tell us or give us an idea of what your code of ethics were in those days? What kinds of things did you hold true to your heart when you were working your job for the mob?
Well, you know, you're being honorable to the people that you're associating with. You wouldn't steal from them, take extra money out of any scores. You wouldn't mess with their wives or kids, you know, like try to make a move with them, you know, flirtatious and stuff like that. That's about it.
Pretty basic values.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good ones to follow.
I would agree.
Okay, so you met Tony Splott as a kid. You were actually enemies to begin with.
Kid enemies. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
He was on one
fighting
street
over
corner.
turf, you know.
Right.
He's got one side of the street and I got the other.
But once you found out who your parents were, that changed, or was
Once
it-
he found out who my father was, it changed. And we became friends because my father saved his father from being muscled by, they were called a black hand back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the outfit is now. There were a bunch of greaseballs from Sicily that came down and muscled their own kind. So my father sort of like eliminated that era of black hands.
Now, you and Tony went through reform school, or were in and out of reform school.
I was mostly, Tony and I were in a school that was, let's say, 98% black.
Okay.
We were in that type of school together. I went to the reform schools. Tony, for some reason or other, always escaped going to them places.
And how did you get to school, Frank?
Well, him and I used to hotwire a car, and we'd drive it down there, you know, and we'd park it a couple blocks away, and, you know, it was a long way. You got to take streetcars, you know, and then, so we took the cars.
Okay, kids, do not do this at home, okay?
And it's pretty hard to do it now, hotwire them. That days are over with.
Okay, the book is loaded with great stories, by the way.
It is, from all three of you.
Your first armed robbery with the coat rack.
Well, you know, that was rather embarrassing because, as you could see, I wore rather thick glasses.
Right.
And I didn't realize that if I went into a place that was really dark from a lit place, that I wouldn't be able to see that good in there. And I thought there was a guy standing back there with a hat on it and a top coat hanging over it, and my partner shooting up the place, scaring everybody half to death. And so I reacted, and the guy wouldn't listen. The coat rack wouldn't listen.
I hate it when that happens.
So I went back there, and I was so embarrassed, I knocked the coat rack down. And I told my partner, if you ever mention that, I'll kill you.
Great story, though.
So I'm the one who brought it out.
Which, well, that follows to the next one that I really loved. Again, going back to your professionalism, you operated in a certain pattern for a while, and then you changed so that they wouldn't catch on to you.
You never try to keep the same MO, you know. And as you're getting older, you progress. You know,
Right.
you start getting better, and you start figuring out things more maturedly. You know, and you look for the money.
Okay.
You're not going to make a living off of sticking up taverns and gas stations. You know, you're only going to get killed.
So you stick up a truck with 3,600 electric can openers?
Oh, yeah. I had vacuum cleaners, too, like that one time. Could you imagine 3,600 vacuum cleaners?
What do you do? How do you unload 3,600 vacuum cleaners, Frank?
Well, you got a lot of. I had a lot of friends, and you give them like 100 vacuum cleaners apiece, and let them worry about it.
Now,
Wives got vacuum cleaners.
They all got new vacuums.
okay, you stole the electric can openers, you hid in a barn that you owned,
Yes,
but you
property.
rented the house to some girls, and their boyfriends came out after you, or
No, that was the cops.
Cops.
That was the state police
and then you.
and the FBI.
Now, this is where my family will love the ending of this story. What happens?
Well, just my partner, we were all going to meet there and unload the truck into the barn because the night we hijacked it, it was too late and we didn't have time to unload it. We did know that there was no tracking devices on the truck, so it didn't bother us, you know, how long it stood there. So we went back in two different cars. So Vince and I got there first, and we went into the barn, and there was horses in there, you know, that these girls owned that we rented the house from. And we started unloading the truck. And I was wondering where our other two partners were.
Sure.
So I heard a noise, and I went and looked out, and I seen these guys coming out of the house that we were renting on the property with big rifles. They looked like cannons at the time. And I told my partner, I said, we got to get out of here. They got this place surrounded. So we ran through the barn, and there was a horse there, and I knocked the horse over. I hit him so hard, I knocked him over. And we ran out into the corral. Now, I don't think this is in the book, but when we got in the center of the corral, they wound up popping up around the corral, all the policemen, and then they told us to drop our shorts to see if we had guns and stuff. Would
No,
you know that my partner and I had the same kind of shorts on?
Now that's a true partner in crime.
I told him, Vince, I said, Vince, you got the same kind of underwear I got on. He said, how could you make jokes?
Because he just knocked over a horse.
That's good stuff.
Okay. As you worked as an independent, you basically ran a corporation. You had a complete staff. You had fences to get rid of the stuff. You had informants to tell you where to go find the stuff. And then you had a whole list of bail bondsmen and lawyers, right?
Yeah, you needed all of that. You needed it as a business.
See, I keep referring back to a business. When you're employed, they take care of all that. Well, they're supposed to.
Let's say I was a CEO.
There, yeah, exactly. You were, yeah. Ain't me.
Ain't me.
Okay, you did the Dad's Root Beer heist. Someone else took the heat for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that person was sent to prison under the false charge. Then it happened to you. That's got to feel weird to know that you're sitting in prison for something you didn't do.
Well, because nobody believes you. Because everybody in prison says they're innocent.
It's filled with.
But I was in there. I was innocent.
Yeah,
But I had other cases pending.
yeah. You were a busy man.
Yeah.
A very busy man. Did you feel guilty when the other guys got?
No,
No.
I didn't know him.
Okay.
I didn't feel any remorse at all.
Okay. So be it.
That's right.
There you go.
Don't know him. Not going to meet him. I'm not getting charged with it. Hey,
I'm sure they hated me.
Or they did at the time.
now we go back to the race thing. Now this is the 1960s. You spend a lot of time with the African Americans, the blacks,
Yeah.
which was an unpopular thing to do in that era.
Well, I didn't hang with them on the streets. I
No.
mean, in the penitentiary.
Right, but you became very good friends with them, especially the Blackstone Rangers.
Yeah.
Again, we go back to the whole business thing. You actually kind of gave them gifts or bonuses to, even though you didn't need to.
No,
at the
no.
time.
I mean, you're making it sound like. It sounds like what you're saying is that I gave them stuff so they wouldn't hurt me.
No.
that wasn't it. I took care of them because I know I could use them,
Right,
and I had a lot of connections in prison.
right.
And I used them connections, and I made sure that I took care of everybody that was around me, and including them. I knew what a
Right.
strong, powerful organization they were. Very, very strong organization. They were called the Blackstone Rangers. I forgot what they call them now. And they were all killers. These guys are stone-blooded killers,
Right. No, I
Go ahead.
okay. No, it's just again, my whole small business marketing is, is you take care of folks and you hope that it comes back to pay you back.
You never know when you could need them, or they'll need you. You never know.
Again, it goes back to the friendship, loyalty, honesty thing.
Yeah.
Helps you out down the road. Now, was that the same prison where the warden? I could not find it in the book again, but there's a cop that arrested
Yeah.
that arrested you. Then
I can't remember his name. I know who you're talking
Then
about.
he got a promotion because of that.
Oh yeah, he loved me. He made a sergeant out of him, and then he became the warden
And then
of
you
the
came-
Cook County Jail.
And then you went to his prison or to his jail.
Cook County Jail, yeah.
Small world.
Small world. Well, it was a small town back
Yeah.
then.
No, it was a big town, but it
Chicago.
was just one big county jail.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You boys want to add anything?
They're probably a little shy.
It's a funny thing, but on the plane when I was flying back out here for this week, I read Cullotta again. I had the advanced reading copy with me, and I was talking to the person in the seat next to me, and they were looking at the pictures.
Right.
And there's a picture in the book of Frank and I. And the guy says, "Gee, that looks like you." I said, "It is." He said, "Well, how'd you get in there?" I said, "Well, I wrote the book." I said, "Frank and I wrote the book." He says, "No kidding." So of course now I had a buddy, and he says, "Well, you've been reading this book now." He says, the picture's about halfway through the book, and he says,
Right.
"If you wrote it, why are you reading it?" I said, "I love it." I said, "It's a great book." So I said, I can't put it down. So hopefully he bought a copy somewhere.
There you go.
Okay. Now, from the time you were a kid to, you're farther along in your career, you passed paths with Tony Splott many times, and you've done things with him, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, does he call you out to Vegas, or do you come out here on your own?
Well, as you'll read in the book, I did go to prison for a while when he moved out here.
Right.
So we were at a wedding together just before I went to prison, and he told me that he was going to be moving to Vegas with his wife, and he knew I couldn't come because I was headed in another direction.
You had prior engagements.
Yeah, and that I couldn't put off. And we talk once I get out. And that's what happened. When I got out, I met him. He came to I opened up a business right away, and he came and met me, and we discussed it, and I resisted going out to Vegas for a while.
Why is it that, again, we might be playing more to Hollywood, but why is it the mafia always is involved in a food-related business?
In a fluid?
Food. Pizza
I never even
places.
thought about that. I guess a lot of people like restaurants. Everybody wants to seem to. wanna own a restaurant.
They
It
lose a
just
lot of
seems like
money.
it falls towards maybe a lot of outfit guys or Italians like to open up Italian restaurants.
Okay. All
I
right.
have a question.
Yes.
Can you tell us the story about how Tony got the nickname the Ant?
Yeah, that came over a wiretap, from my knowledge. Tony's name is Anthony. It's not Tony, it's Anthony Splott. And a friend of ours was talking to him on the phone, and he just said in a slang way, like, "Okay, Ant," meaning Anthony.
Sure.
And they got it over the wiretap, and that's it. He was labeled, the poor guy, with that name as an ant. And they figured, well, because he was small,
Right.
and that's not true.
It's just short for
Nobody
Anthony.
would dare call him that name. Hey, Ant, you're an ant.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Vegas when you first came out here versus how it looks or is today?
Well, most naturally, I liked it. I liked the lifestyle then, and even with all the heat I had, I still liked it. It's a wonderful town. Now it's like, it's too commercial. It's like a zoo. I just don't like it anymore. I wouldn't live here anymore. Too many people, too much traffic.
Well, when you first came out here, we had, 80,000 people?
That sounds
No,
about
no,
right.
I think it was 800,000 people.
Well, not that many.
There
No.
wasn't? I don't remember it. I know one thing. I didn't have to wait at a light for 4 or 5 minutes.
Reborn piece.
Those days are gone. Dennis, your thoughts on Vegas when you first came here versus now?
Well, it was easier town to get around in, if that's what you mean. But if you want me to say it was a better place to live, I'm not going to
No.
say that. It was a better place to live because there are less people.
Right.
But anytime you've got criminal enterprises controlling a whole bunch of your population and controlling your major moneymaker for the state, no, it wasn't better then. It was better now. And my former boss, SAC Joe Yablonsky, always said it was like a cancer. Yeah, you feel okay, but eventually it's going to get you.
Yeah.
And it did. You can't imagine the money that this state lost in taxes through the skimming out of hotels. A lot of money was lost. A lot of shareholders lost money also, not just citizens. And there was a lot of corruption going
We were
on.
collecting the taxes.
I'll tell you that.
Say that again.
Of course,
Frank.
unfortunately, they still got
We were collecting the taxes.
That's absolutely the truth. That's absolutely the truth. No
The three of you
question.
seem like such good friends these days. Like you've been palling around for years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's a little bit hard to believe, but once you see it, I can.
Here's
I
a
can
guy
see
that
you
was a
guys-
thorn in my side for a couple of years. Passed me around.
Not too
Put me
long.
out of business.
There you go. There you go.
What's that saying about keeping enemies close?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, he's a good friend.
After,
At least I think he is. I don't know what he
Yeah,
thinks of me.
Oh, very much so. I tell people I have two friends, an attorney and a old hitman. We can't figure out who's worse. Right?
Yeah, well, I can tell you.
Yeah, you're right.
Watch that attorney.
You're right.
to follow up on what Sazzy was asking, after the museum event the other night, there were several former Metro police there also who had been involved in the Metro side of the investigations. And a few of us stopped at a restaurant for something to eat. And, I I had seen Frank and Dennis together before, and enough times that it wasn't a surprise or anything to see two old adversaries, being buddies. But then when I got these cops in there too, who I had met, but never with Frank, and to see that relationship, I mean, I was taking it. I said, "Gee, this is weird." That's what was going on through my mind.
You got along good too, didn't you?
Oh God, we had a blast. I'm telling you, I never laughed so much in my life. It was just nice company.
They're sorry.
nice
They're sorry it ended my career. They says now their life is dull.
We put away the excitement, darn it.
Yeah, that's true.
How you doing on those cards there, Mark?
We're about halfway through.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Lord,
All right. At the point that you came out here, what was Tony Splott like? When you got out here, was he at his peak? Was he at his prime, or was the paranoia starting? And
Oh no, he was beat up a lot by the law enforcement when I got
Denny
out
here?
here. No, there was the guys before him.
Okay.
And I mean, they constantly were following him around, and he gets to you. And at the end there, that's when he started getting paranoid. He was hard to be around.
Okay.
And you've said that your wife's intuition on that situation was.
It was great. She was much more alert to it than I was. And I guess it could be like, let's say a love affair. When you like somebody a lot, you overlook a lot of things, you don't believe it.
Right.
And she was like an outsider looking in, and I used to feel as though, well, maybe she was jealous because I spent so much time with him, but that wasn't the story. She just seen a better picture of it than I did.
Did you ever come to a point where you didn't trust Tony anymore?
Yeah, the day they shot some guy in a place, right in this, some guy got shot in an apartment right next to where we were located, and then I had a funny feeling that maybe he had something to do with it. And until this day, I don't know if that's true or not.
Sure.
If it was meant for me.
On Tuesday, Lefty Rosenthal turned 78. Did you ever meet him?
Oh yeah, I knew Lefty well.
Yeah. Well, it's just the fact that the both of you are still alive and still able to talk about this. Well, he doesn't, but you are.
He talks a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably have to pay him $1 million.
The guy's making,
He's got money. He's always had money.
Frank's
Oh, yeah.
just a regular Joe.
I know that.
That's it.
So.
Truck driver.
Wheelman.
There you go.
Okay. Some of the best stories, or I guess the funniest part about both the battle and Cullotta was the fact that you guys and the FBI played cat and mouse, but it was a very open game of cat and mouse, right?
Yeah.
And as you explained last night on the tour and all of that, when they put the camera in your place and you caught it, and okay, were you part of this, Dennis?
No, I got
That was
here
before?
in September of '80, and this was
Okay.
shortly before then. Yeah.
Okay, it's just hard for us to imagine, A, you guys ripping out the camera, and B, the FBI coming in and going, "Excuse me, can we have our spy equipment back?"
Yeah, it was rather, I got to admit, it was rather embarrassing for them. And, that is an embarrassing situation to be in. And we basically got lucky finding it.
Oh,
Although
definitely.
we did search all the time in our place.
All right.
But we got lucky, and they were mad. They were pissed, really pissed. And I guess like anything else, they didn't want us to go to the newspapers with it. We didn't want that notoriety.
No.
But somebody put it in the newspaper. I don't know who did it,
Was it in the newspaper?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's not in the newspaper these days.
Yeah. Really. Okay. Well, the fact that they had bugged the store, the Gold Rush, and and then all that stuff. So.
Are you almost done with cards?
Yeah.
He does this every time. I have a question.
Well, go for it.
Frank, now that your life of crime is behind you, you're on the straight and narrow, what does the next 5 years look like for you?
Well, I'm healthy,
That's a
and
good start.
I see that I live a nice life and happy, free of headaches, and I don't know. They're good 5 years ahead of me.
5 fabulous.
Unless I age worse, you know.
Not you, honey. You look fabulous.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're married, aren't you?
Most days.
Oh,
She's married to the
Off
Happy
day.
Pebble.
Again, I'm the fun one.
That's right. Everything changed on Friday, April 30th, 1981. You're sitting in jail. It's a Friday. Your fears are realized. Tony, the king of Las Vegas, had the world by the balls, and his world was falling apart. The FBI agent walks in and says those little words to you that your friend from childhood has a contract out on your life.
Yeah, but it wasn't 81.
It's 82.
82? Okay, I'm sorry.
April 82.
That must have been the correction in the book.
That probably was.
All right. We had the advanced copy, so
There you go.
well, you know, I mean, his whether it was genuine information I had or not, I don't know. But he hit me with it, and he didn't stay around long. You know, he didn't want me to question him on it. And I felt uncomfortable with Tony then anyway.
right.
So, you know, actually, it probably didn't take much from me at that point because I was so dissatisfied in my situation there. And that's when I called him
Okay.
back.
Now, it's reported that Joey the Clown Lombard called... Lombardo, I apologize.
You apologize to him, not me.
Mark, could you get the monsters' names right?
Yeah, really.
Jeez.
Do you want to check outside for the black vehicles?
No.
Okay, all right. Told Tony you got to clean your laundry. You were the laundry, huh?
I thought I was, you
Yeah.
know, that's what I thought it would be. Who else could they mean? You know, I don't
Yeah.
think he was talking about his wives.
Okay. Now, you turned government witness, not informant. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, a witness is somebody that testifies on people in trial. An informant is a guy or an individual that wears some type of a wire, sets up people. You know, I mean, he's told to do this and told to do that. To me, that's a big difference.
Now, I know you can't speak for him, you know, he's not here, but what do you think would have made Tony turn, if anything?
Would it make Tony roll?
Yeah.
You know, I can't answer that. I don't know.
No? Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
What he tried to woke me up.
Life in the Witness Protection Program.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Hated every minute of it.
Yeah, it's
Well, you went...
just a terrible way to go. I mean, they took care of you as much as they could. You know, they have a job, and it's just there's no money there. I mean,
Right.
If I didn't have any money, you know, I had a little money hidden. If I didn't, how are you going to live on $1,100 a month and support 3 other people? It's impossible.
Going from fancy cars... Now, you had a liking for a lot of fancy
Vehicles,
cars.
yeah.
Anything special?
I like nice cars, plush cars.
Plush cars?
Mercedes, Lincolns, Cadillacs, you know.
Okay. Did being in prison help with the adjustment, going from the fancy cars to the beat up?
It just took a little while to get back into that feeling to have them cars again, you know. I mean, I didn't need to have 3 and 4 of them a year.
Right.
One was good enough.
At that point. There's an interesting story in the book that I'm hoping you'll tell us about the federal marshals dropping you off for a flight and then taking off instead of sticking around.
Yeah, that was sort of egg in their face, you know. And I think I'm sure they thought that I was safe at that time, but the plane broke down, you know, on the strip and on the airfield there, and it started up and they backed up and the marshals left. See, we drove onto the airstrip, you know, to get on the plane. And I looked out the window and didn't see the car there anymore, and I said, oh shit. So they said, everybody, I thought we'd remain on the plane and it wouldn't be bad, but then they told us to get off the plane.
Now you're in
And,
an open public airport.
Yeah, and, you know, we'd have to wait like 3-4 hours. Well, I didn't feel like I wanted to sit around at Chicago Air for 3-4 hours. I might see somebody I know. So I tried to call the number that they gave me, an 800 number, which was no longer in service. And then I tried another number they gave me that was a pay number, which no longer was in service.
They really liked you, didn't they? They had your back.
You know, I mean, it was like, what in the hell is going on here? I thought these people were supposed to watch my bag. So then I called the FBI, Kelly, nice
Dave
guy,
Kelly, yeah.
Dave Kelly. And I'll tell you what, I was, when I called him, because at that time, I seen two individuals. I did board a plane there at O'Hara. And once I was on the plane, I only carried a carry-on. I threw it on the overhead. And I sat down in the seat. And the book might tell it a little different, but these two individuals got on the plane. And they were walking towards me. And I looked up and I said, shit, I know these two guys. And they both, one of them looked at me like, can it be him for sure? This was another plane.
Yeah.
And
That would be frightening.
I said, 3 minutes, he'll know it's me when he sits down. So as soon as I knew they were going to sit down, I could feel it. I got up to close out, and the stewardess says, where are you going? I said, got to get off the plane. And I got off the plane. At that moment, they realized who I was, and they came running out into the airport. And I just was behind a pole, and I was watching, looking around. And the one guy was telling him, come on, let's go back in there. We can't do nothing anyway. I could hear him. So they got back on the plane, and I just called Dave Kelly down. And I took a cab to Midway.
Okay.
He was there before I got there.
Wow.
I mean, and I didn't talk to him. I left a message because he wasn't there. But they have an answering service. Somebody answered the phone. At least somebody answered the phone.
Yeah, finally, somebody answers the phone.
And they relayed the message to him, and he was there.
Dennis, any comments?
No comment on that. Except to say Dave Kelly was an excellent agent, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
And it sounds exactly how it would happen.
Cool. How are you doing on questions?
I'm good. I'm a happy camper
All
over
right.
here.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Don't worry, I'll interrupt.
Now, while you were in prison, your wife left the witness protection program.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any fears about that? Any
No.
concerns? No.
None at all.
No.
They weren't going to hurt her. Why would they hurt her? They couldn't use her against me. You know,
Okay.
I didn't have no fears of that.
Right.
I think the law enforcement were more worried about it than I was,
Yeah.
or she was, you know. But I wasn't worried about it.
Okay. Now you're out and about, and you're starting to get your life back. They call about the book, about what was to become a casino.
Well, Arnoldy got a hold of me
Okay.
and told me that Nick Pileggi wanted to talk to him, and he told me the guy's a good guy. He's trusted with the bureau, so you could talk to him if you want. He never once told me that I had to or I should. He says, if you want, that's your decision. But I can tell you that I know and I heard that he's a good guy. So I trusted Arnoldy's word on it. And I called. And I spoke with Nick Pileggi. And he was all tickled to hear from me. And then we set up a meeting and I met him in a parking lot.
Yeah. In battle, you explained that that
Yeah, he was sort of shocked I snuck up on him.
it's part of your business. You know that.
Not every day you meet someone like Frank in a parking lot. Frank, I can't say I would have done it if I were there.
Okay. So then the book turns into a movie.
Right.
Scorsese calls you up and says,
Well, Nick was in control of all the meetings, and I met Scorsese with Nick one time, and then another time I met De Niro alone in one of these villas, and at the time he was doing that movie Frankenstein, so he had real long hair. You know?
Okay.
And I was like, geez, here I am. I'm standing next to Robert De Niro. It was like really a shock, But he was more impressed. He was more shocked to be around me than I thought. And he put a recorder out and wanted to hear everything. So he asked me a million questions, and then we had another meeting after that at the Beverly Wilshire, and they were all there. Joe Pesci, De Niro, Scorsese, and who else they say? Nick and Sharon Stone. She didn't come up to the room, but I bumped into her in the lobby, and we discussed it. Yeah, you couldn't miss her. And I knew she was there for that particular reason, but they didn't have her up in the room. And we discussed it in the room. And then at the end, De Niro made the decision that he'd like to have me as a technical advisor. And everybody agreed to it. They had all agreed to it. And then Nick went to the phone and calls were being made, and that was it. No money was discussed or anything.
but you were paid.
Well, you needed a lawyer to negotiate all that, yeah.
I'll always do that. So every time there's a movie sold, you get it like a penny? or half
Well,
penny?
yeah, I get something, but I don't get what they get.
No. What did you think of the characters compared to the real people?
It's Hollywood,
Right.
It's Hollywood. Marty did a good job on it, as best he could. I don't think Pesci portrayed Tony all right, but he swore a little too much. Tony didn't have that type of a vulgar mouth, and he was
Okay.
always a ladies' man, and he never swore like that, But movie stars, they tend to do stuff.
But he had the
like
looks down.
Well, they put them together, they've done a job on it. Matter of fact, he came to me and said, did they do a good job? Do I look like the little guy? And I said, yeah, you look just like him.
Now you're starting to relive your past. That's got to be weird the first time to be sitting in Hollywood explaining and watching things that happened in your life.
No, it's no different than being sitting here and explaining it to you. You just sit there and you talk along, and you tell them what was going on then and so on, and they're going to do what they want to do
Right.
anyway. They're going to change scenes. I mean, I didn't tell them these guys died in a cornfield.
Right.
Their bodies were found there. I didn't. How the hell do I know where they were, killed at? I didn't kill them. So they just
You were busy
assumed
doing
that
other
they were
things.
beaten to death in the cornfield. So it's theatrics,
Right.
And the Vice scene, I just told him, I said, the guy's head was stuck in the other way. Why are you putting it in that way? He says, the editors and this and that, and it's more visible and all. It was, so they did it that way. They changed a lot of things.
Okay. The movie's made. Dennis comes along. You have him make your book. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And we get the advanced copy. We love it. Everyone seems to love it.
We do love it.
We do love it.
We're both ferocious readers. Mark found Battle, and then as soon as he was done with it, I read it, and then we got to talk to Denny, and that was a real treat. And then he told us about Cullotta, and he's reading the left side of the page, and I'm reading the right side of the page. We like the book, and we think you guys are going to find some great success with it.
Well, I hope so.
Now,
Thank you.
not your whole life was included in that book, so there's more there for possibly a second version.
There's a lot left. There's only so much you could put in. I don't even know how many pages are there, but I'm sure there could be another book if people wanted it.
What's it like with all of this attention now? It's positive attention. Finally,
It's hard for me to accept or believe that it's really happening. I just really difficult to understand.
Okay.
It's very surreal.
I'll accept it, but I just have a hard time realizing that this is truly happening.
Is it time for the presents now?
Almost.
Presents.
At the end of the book, you explain, or Denny explains, you're now a legitimate business person. And what you're doing is a success. You're doing very well at it.
Somewhere in America.
Somewhere in America, and you have that sense of calm because of when you actually go for a walk with a friend, it's not the final walk, right?
Well, yeah, if there's something to be done.
To actually have a friend and know that.
Oh, no, yeah, it's a different story.
Right. That Dennis is that.
You know you're not going to get hit in the back of the head.
Right. That
In
Dennis.
the front of the face.
Hopefully.
No.
You like me too much. You couldn't sleep at night.
Probably true.
Have you met Tony's wife and kids since?
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
No. Why would I want to meet them? You know what I mean? I'm sure they don't like me, but I know Nancy well. She may say she don't know me, and I understand that.
Okay. It was interesting on the tour last night on the mob tour having.
Gosh, was that great fun.
Had a good time.
That was a good time.
I shocked people by jumping on.
That just some of the people knew that you guys were going to be on there. I don't know what half did but yeah, to have you come out at Bertha's as the character that you did really just added to it. And as we've said, hearing it from you guys as you explain it, because you guys were there.
We were.
Really added to the story. It added to the
Yeah.
experience quite a bit. And
Yeah.
it made for a really fun tour.
Yes.
Well, good. I'm glad to
Oh,
hear
I'm
it.
glad to hear
I
that.
think Robert Allen's done a good job with that, too.
Robert's.
Robert's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He is.
He just
He's funny.
is.
He's quite a guy.
So now are you guys going to go out and play a round of golf or what?
No, I don't like golf. I can't see chasing the ball around, hitting it, and chasing it around.
Now is it time for presents?
You have any other questions?
No.
You guys have any comments, questions, concerns?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing. This case was investigated. We're talking about the FBI, but Metro was extremely, just as big a partner in this we were.
Right.
And I always like people to remind people of that because like Dave Gruber and Gene Smith and those guys did a great job also. And it was
Well-
the first time we ever worked so closely together.
Gene Smith's because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Tell him.
And Louis and
one of the things that I liked about Battle for Las Vegas was the fact that you explained that very well. The fact that they all went through their own little problems and then they all came together, and that's when you
absolutely, and it's very important to remember that because it was
the
truly a
cooperation
team
was
tremendous.
was unbelievable.
Tremendous.
You know, having the locals work with the federals on such a major issue.
I might say, and I never had the involvement. I was with a small agency back in New York State, and we didn't have, as Oscar Goodman would say, no organized crime in our area. But I can say that from my experience and other people I've spoken with, that probably the operation that Metro and the FBI were involved in here with the Splott stuff would be a unique thing because the FBI and the agencies are all turf conscious and they're so on and so forth. And this was the smoothest operation of cooperation that I've ever heard of.
Right.
Between a federal agency and a local agency. And if I just might, I was talking about how after the signing the other night, it was kind of unique to see Frank and some of the Metro guys. And one of the Metro guys who was there was one of the officers who Tony that approached Frank about maybe hitting.
Wow, what a small world.
And these guys, you know, I mean, no hard feelings. It was really an amazing thing.
That was
to watch.
different, you know, it was a different thing then, you know. Different ballgame.
Strictly business, right?
Strictly business.
Like the Godfather.
Well, that's a whole nother can of worms. It's a whole nother can of worms.
I'm sure if one of them got killed, it would probably be different
Right.
right now. I'm absolutely sure. I wouldn't be sitting there, probably dead. If otherwise, I'm sure I wouldn't be here,
Well,
one
we're
way
glad
or
you
another.
are.
I could be in jail or dead if one of them would have got killed.
We're glad you're
That I
here now.
could guarantee you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to end with, gonna beat you to the punch.
Yes.
I'd like to end with a quote from the night of the panel discussion. A.D. Hopkins from the Review Journal said this, and I thought it was really
About
about the book,
Cullotta.
Cullotta.
Okay.
I didn't need any help. I was getting around to it.
Go for it.
About the book Cullotta, he said, the history of Las Vegas would be less complete without this book. And I think that's a tribute to all three of you gentlemen.
Thank you.
It was absolutely the truth.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Our pleasure.
I have presents.
Oh, good.
She has presents.
Well, that's good to know.
You got
We,
something, huh?
we,
Yeah,
have,
we never did anything.
we have a little club here at the Vegas Tourist.
Thank you.
Mark and I have been best friends for a very, very long time. And
Thank you.
we say we're partners in crime because there's rules that go along with being best friends. So we'd like all three of you to be indicted into the Las Vegas Partner in Crime Network. Put a little token of our appreciation.
nice. Thank you very much. That's very nice.
Turn me around, please.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you coming.
I like it. Thank you.
You guys are all right. I appreciate that.
Anything else, Sazzy?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Say goodnight, Sazzy.
Good night, Sazzy.
Everybody, see you all next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to have you.
Just gonna be
It's getting dark